What's up, everybody? Welcome to November and another weekly reading vlog on Leigh's library. Man, it's November already. That's so crazy. I sort of have two conflicting mentalities about 2020. Part of me feels like it's taken forever to get to this point, but then the other part of me is like, this year flew by. But it is a new month. I hope you all had a wonderful Halloween and that you stayed extra spooky and extra safe. I, for one, am enjoying the Halloween candy. It's my favorite part. I wanted to give you an update because we've got two new books that we're reading right now. Since I last left you, I told you that I finished Ruby and Revolution. Those will both be in my What I Read in October video. Also, since I left you, I started and finished The Selection by Kiera Cass. Finished that one on Halloween, actually, so it'll be in my What I Read in October video. It was good. I enjoyed it. It was one I had picked for my 12 tropes of 2020 challenge to fit the love triangle trope. Definitely a love triangle. And I'm definitely on one firm side. I like one of the two boys, so usually that doesn't happen. Usually I can see the attractive side of both, but this time I'm staunchly on one side. Here are the two new books that I am reading right now. So, I wanted to finish this one in October. I wanted to finish multiple of the books in this series in October, but the end of October kind of got away with me, what with Preptober and NaNoWriMo beginning, and we had some sort of scrambly programming issues with jobs that I was working at, so I didn't have as much reading time as I wanted. And even though these are cozy murder mysteries, it's still a murder mystery, and I find that I like to sit and think and give like time to sort through my thoughts on these, even though they are what I would consider easy reads, but it is what it is. Anyway, I feel like I've mentioned this before, but my immediate family, my mom and my dad and myself, really like having like cozy murder mystery series that we find and we think are good. And we swap the books back and forth and we really enjoy them. We have one in particular that we really, really like, which is the Hannah Swenson Murder Mysteries by Joanne Fluke. They're really good. She's got over 20 of them, I think. We're really invested in that storyline. There's another love triangle in there, and both my mom and I are firmly on one side. We really like Norman. So if you ever want to read the Joanne Flukes, I encourage you to do so. I really like them. But this is a new one that we found maybe a year or two ago, called the Bookstore Cafe Mysteries. This one is Death by Pumpkin Spice. It's the Halloween one. It's really good. It's about a girl named Chrissy, she's the main character, who owns Death by Coffee, which is the bookstore cafe in the series. And in this particular one, she herself is also caught in a love triangle between Officer Paul Dalton, who she sort of clings to solve the mysteries. And then she's also, in this book particularly, on a date with a guy named Will, who really likes her, but she's sort of conflicted between her emotions with Will and Paul. And I haven't quite decided who I like more in this book series yet, because this is only the third one I've read. There's 6 in total, I think, that we've got, so I've got 3 more after this. Anyway, so Chrissy gets invited to this really fancy Halloween party, and while she's there, a man proposes to, I can't remember what her name is, I think Jessica? Anyway, a man proposes to her, she turns him down, she's dressed as Marilyn Monroe, and then lo and behold, a short time later, she's found strangled in another room with her head smashed through a pumpkin. How Halloween is that? So while they're all trapped in this house, she's trying to run around trying to find the murderer and solve the case, all the while trying to go on a date and dealing with her unrequited love. Which, as of this point in the book, she's just found out that it's not quite so unrequited. So I'm curious to see how it ends. I have like 8-ish chapters left. They're kind of thick chapters. Takes me a while to get through them, but it's a good read so far. My plan is probably to finish this maybe tomorrow. We'll see. Then the other book that I'm starting, I am on chapter 3 now. These have big chapters, but I just started Borage by Gil McKnight. This is also part of my 12 tropes challenge. This is the Ice Queen trope, I think. Basically someone who is typically romantically very impenetrable and cold and gives off a very professional, stiff vibe, and the main character basically just has to break them down and discover who they are on the inside. So this one's really good. If you want to know more about this book, I would encourage you to go watch my 12 Tropes of 2020 challenge. And I talk a little bit more about the plot, but basically this follows the main character, whose name is Astral Projector, and she has inherited this long line of magic, and she herself is kind of a dud with it. She's not the best witch, but she belongs to something called the Plague Tree Coven. And there's some unrest, some political unease in this coven, mostly because the coven's funds, or their stock portfolio, is being drained by a sort of evil power, and Astral finds herself being sent on the mission to discover the person who is doing it. And along the way, I haven't met the Ice Queen yet, but along the way, she may find her heart's desire and maybe befriend the CEO of Black & Blacker Finances, which is the place where all of their money goes, but that's the source of where the siphon is happening. So I am 2 chapters in. She's literally about to go to Black & Blacker. I'm excited to see what happens. It's good. This one also I wanted to start in October. I didn't quite get to it, but it is what it is. They both are really good. So that's my reading update. I have a feeling this one's probably going to take me a while, just because it's kind of dense, but it's really good. Good story. The plot moves quickly. There's just a lot of chapters. Those are my reading updates. It's been a good month of reading. October was good. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was NaNoWriMo started. Today is the second day of NaNoWriMo. Congratulations to everybody who finished the first day successfully. Way to go. I hope you continue to have good inspiration and good copious amounts of luck. If you don't know what NaNoWriMo is, it's National Novel Writing Month, where you have 30 days to write usually a draft of a novel. Some people use it to edit, some people use it to do like publishing bursts, like see if they can get it published within 30 days. Most people would spend it writing the first draft. The goal is 50,000 words, which I think is 1,667 words a day. Yesterday I wrote over 2,000, so I gave myself a little bit of a buffer, which was good. So it's been going really well. I haven't written anything today yet. I spent my morning hour of writing, prepping some more story cards, or like fleshing out the plot line, just because I didn't quite get all of it finished in October. So I have a feeling there's going to be a few days in the month where I spend time, once I've caught up with the writing, to fleshing out more of the story ideas before I write them down. So this afternoon I'm going to do some writing when I've got some free time in my schedule. And then right now, because it's over my lunch hour, going to do some reading. This week it will be a lighter week, except for tomorrow, because tomorrow we're having an endoscopy. Fun. Still dealing with the colon stuff since I last left you. So I just literally hit the deadline an hour ago to stop eating. So now I need to go get some water and drink some stuff. Just gotta fill my stomach somehow. So yeah, that's my update. NaNoWriMo started. 2 new books. More medical procedures. Hopefully life gets a little quieter. I really am excited about this month because I have wanted to do NaNoWriMo for so long, and I finally, I think, got my story in a place where I'm able to do it justice. I was worried about that not happening, so anyway, I think it'll be a good month. I'm excited for some BookTube stuff that I've got coming this month. It'll be good. Okay, I think that's it. Maybe we'll do a reading update this evening, depending on how far I get, but I hope you all are doing well. Let me know how you're doing. I would love to know. I'm really on a big connecting with people kick right now, because we're getting close to the holiday season, and we just hit daylight savings time yesterday. It's going to get darker and colder, and I know SAD, or seasonal affective disorder, is going to be coming full swing. I sometimes get affected by that more often than not, so I really want to know how you're doing. Let me know. Even if it's just on Instagram, send me a message. How are you doing? I want to know. Okay, that's it for now. We'll see you later. Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. And happy election day. I don't know if it's happy for a lot of people. We'll see as the day goes on. But I hope you all did your civic duty and voted. I sent mine in early because I didn't want to stand in line for 3 hours and put my ballot in, but also because I had my endoscopy scheduled for today. So I swallowed my little pill camera this morning, and then I got hooked up to this stuff. So This is the belt that has like sensors in it and sort of intercepts the pictures that come from the camera, and then it all gets stored in this little guy. It holds all of the cameras and photos and information taken from the camera pill, and it's hooked by this blue wire up to the belt. It's uncomfortable. It's squeezing me around the middle, and it's heavier than I thought it was gonna be, but it is what it is. When you're trying to figure out the problem and you're making health a priority, sometimes you gotta do some not so fun stuff. So it is what it is. For the most part, I'm fine. So I'm gonna go drop this back off this afternoon, and I'll be done. I am so hungry. I was allowed a small snack at 12:15. I had half a sandwich, and that was a few hours ago, so I'm ready for some food. But I wanted to give you a little update because I've got some free time in the office today because it's election day. It's a light work day, so I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna read a little bit while I'm here before I have to go drive back to the doctor's office to drop this off. So thought I'd give you a little bit of a snapshot while reading. So since I last left you, Chrissy has, in Death by Pumpkin Spice, I should say, Chrissy has apprehended the murderer, whose name is ... in case you ever read these. No spoilers, but she does catch the murderer, and I have, I think, probably about 5 chapters-ish left. I'm curious to see how the love triangle plays out. Who's she going to make a decision over, or is she going to be like she did with the past 2 books and not make a decision and make us wait again? But it's been good so far. To be honest, I don't think I followed the plot of this one very well. I think it didn't keep me as hooked as most murder mysteries that I read that are like this. And so I wasn't real attached to this storyline. It was an interesting concept, but I don't think it's her best. So I am finishing this one. I've got 3 more in this series left to read, so my guess is I'll probably finish this by the time I leave this afternoon. In Borage, Astral has now become an employee at Black & Blacker. She's in their, what is it, team? Something team? Oh, she's in their compliance team, I think is the name of the department that she's a part of. She's met most of the employees who work there. She's also met the boss. She was the first person she met in the business. She just ran into her, and Abby Black is the name of the CEO, and she is very intimidating to Astral, but there is, I think, some part of her that's sort of becoming slightly alluring to her. I don't entirely know what it is, but I think from what I've read that Abby is starting to find Astral amusing, and because she's very panicky and flighty and gets unsettled very easily. Also, Astral has this sort of protection cloaking spell that her coven cast on her so that the critter, who is the evil character in the store who's siphoning their money, won't be able to recognize her. And she is sort of feeling that it's not really working, that it's sort of a cheaply made spell, and that she's wondering if people would have set her up because most recently her desk, hence why there's cupcakes all over the cover of this book, someone rigged her desk to basically overflow and explode full of pastries because Astral loves to bake. And so someone has targeted her at Black & Blacker, and she doesn't know who it is. I kind of have a suspicion, based on the characters that I've already met, who the critter is. But I think it's interesting to know that maybe the Magdalena, I think is the name of the head of their coven. I think it'd be really interesting to see if she set her up. I kind of think that might be what happened. But Borage, this is Borage, the huge black cat on the front. That's Astral's familiar. I love him as a character. So sassy, so good. A typical cat. I'm really enjoying this so far. It's actually reading much quicker than I anticipated. These chapters are really big. But I really, really, really like this one. I think it's a unique concept, and I entered into sort of the world of witchcraft without having a lot of questions. Whatever magic is in here is incredibly well explained, or at least I understood it well, so it's so good. And it's so, I don't want to say Tim Burton, but it's almost got elements of him where it's almost like abstract cartoony in how things play out. So I'm really curious to see how the rest of this goes. So anyway, that's I've caught you up now, so I'm gonna get to reading. This thing is so, it keeps sliding. So it's just gonna sit right here on my lap. Okay, let's read some. We finished it. There was a little bit more of a twist ending than I anticipated. It was sort of a rapid conclusion, but it was not how I pictured it in my head ending, so that was good. She didn't pick between the two. She's even more torn between the Dr. Will and the police officer Paul. And her ex-boyfriend, who she was in a previous relationship with and had cheated on her, had basically stalked her and followed her out to Pine Hills. And now he's going to be heavily involved. He was already involved in this story, but I think he's going to be even more heavily involved in the next one, because at the end of the book, he threatened to move to Pine Hills to live in the same town as Chrissy. So some intrigue for the next one set up. So it was a good book. I gotta quick do some more work stuff before I go, and maybe I'll have time to read a little bit of Borage. Hopefully. I'm really excited to keep reading that one. But we got another one checked off my Read Everything on My Shelves challenge. Slowly but surely. What's up, everybody? I have never done a peace sign before. Ew. I'm back home now. Dropped all my camera stuff off at the doctor's office, and I feel much better now that I don't have 5 pounds of machinery hanging from me. And then I drove directly to Caribou Coffee because I had been 48 hours without caffeine, which, that was hard, but, you know, probably indicative of a little bit of a dependence. What are you gonna do? It's NaNoWriMo, gotta stay fueled, and then grabbed some food and came home. Right now I am digging through more of Borage. I don't know why I said digging through, that's a weird analogy for reading. I'm reading more of Borage. I want to get a good chunk of this done tonight, mostly because it's really good and I actually want to spend time, like, more than like half an hour sitting in a doctor's office, like actually sitting down and reading it and getting caught up in the momentum of the story. And maybe start another one of my bookstore cafe murder mysteries tonight. But I hopped on to update the vlog because I just laughed for like a solid 2 minutes. So Astral just came home from her first day at Black & Blacker Finances, and she's with Dulce, who's her best friend, who's also a witch, and Damien, who is studying to be a witch, to sort of update them on her day. And she had a bad first day, and so she's giving them a review of the people she's met and whether or not they're the critter. So, Dulce says, "You saw no sign of a critter at all, despite being ambushed." And Astral says, "It's difficult to tell. Once you start to really look at people, you realize everyone is weird in a crittery way." Like? Well, at first Ms. Ping, the receptionist, seemed strange, but it turned out she was only flaky. Then I suspected Fergal, my supervisor, but now I'm thinking he's more of a drunk. And the head of ops, Ms. Black, at first glance she'd scare the crap out of Satan's colostomy bag, but... Oh, this book is just full of moments like that where it's just the one-liners that get me, and it's so ridiculous, and I love it so much. I can already tell that this is going to be a pretty highly rated book, and I cannot wait to see what happens in the story. I just had to share that little quote with you because I thought it was hilarious. I love Astral as a character. I think she's great, and is incredibly honest about her feelings, and I'm excited to see how she holds up and shows up against this challenge that I'm pretty sure she was set up for. So, okay, I'm gonna get back to reading now. I will maybe update you tonight, otherwise I will see you tomorrow. Hey everybody, what's up? It is now Saturday. This week got away from me quite a bit. NaNoWriMo has been kicking my butt. I started out strong the first 2 days, Saturday and Monday, and I cranked out good couple thousand words, and then over Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, even a little bit on Friday, I was just slogging. And I don't know if that was just me adjusting to the amount of words that I needed to write, or whether I hit like a lull in my plot. Who knows? Anyway, today was a little better because I sort of got out of my own head and remembered that this is a rough draft and it does not have to be perfect. It will be far from perfect by the time I finish it. Anyway, so we had some good writing done today. However, this week I have made excellent progress in Borage and Death by Vanilla Latte since the time I last spoke to you, which I think was Tuesday? Yikes. I've not been a great vlogger this week. Death by Vanilla Latte. Where have I left off? I mentioned that Chrissy's dad, James Hancock, who is a murder mystery author, comes to visit her in Pine Hills, and he brings with him his agent and his agent's assistant. And his agent, whose name is Rick, winds up being murdered. He's the victim. He gets a pen stabbed through his eye, which I think is probably one of the best ways of murder I've ever read this year. Anyway, Rick was a sleazeball, and he hit on Chrissy quite a lot, and she just found out that he had been taking really super creepy pictures of her all while growing up. And so the night that her dad sort of speaks to the town, like holds like a writer's or like meet the author little conference thing, he confronts Rick, which happens to be the night he dies. And so her dad is now a prime suspect in Rick's murder. Chrissy has now discovered that there were a bunch of hidden manuscripts under Rick's bed that weren't there when the police examined his room where she found the dead body. And so she's trying to figure out, why are they there? Who's this? She recognizes all the names on the manuscripts except for one. So she's trying to figure out who this stranger is. What else? Oh, freaking Robert. I talked at I think it was on Tuesday, yeah, this past Tuesday, that at the end of Death by Pumpkin Spice, her ex-boyfriend, who's kind of a creepy stalker, shows back up and, yeah, has just barged into her house and reasserted himself in her life. And I'm so irritated. He's so annoying. And he's one of those guys who, like, doesn't understand when you're trying to communicate to them, like, I don't like you. Like, we don't have a relationship anymore. And he's like, well, but I know you still love me, so I'll just wait for you to come around, or like I'll try to make you jealous and like try to make you think like you really want me. And it's like, no, dude, get the picture. Okay, you're done. And of course she's still struggling between Will and Paul. Will's the doctor who is currently her main fling, and then Paul, she just keeps bumping into him because he's the police officer who's investigating Rick's death. And he just keeps doing like little things like touching her knee, and like he gave her a kiss on the forehead in the middle of town. And I'm like, boy, Will better not see this. That's not gonna end well. What just happened that I can clue you in on? Oh, okay. Well, I think the most like recent juicy thing that happened with the murder was discovering that Rick had these creepy pictures of her growing up, and he never really was interested in any other younger girls, just her, which is super weird. And so she's trying to figure out, did her dad know about them when he went to Rick's room? He did punch him. Her dad did punch Rick. Did he know about the photos? Did he just fire him? Like, what was the deal? But then the romance juicy part is that Will has invited Chrissy and her dad to go have dinner with Will and his parents to sort of meet the family. And I don't know how she's gonna do with that if she's, you know, still bouncing back and forth between Paul and Will. So that's the update now on Death by Vanilla Latte. I kind of have suspicions as to who I think did it. Right now I'm kind of thinking that it's Rick's assistant Cameron. I think he's probably my number one. However, there was a mysterious fat man that was seen exiting his room that they weren't able to get a clear identity to. And then also, who's the mysterious name in that pile of manuscripts? Who knows? Not anybody she recognizes. She asked the town gossip who it was. She didn't know who he was. So anyway, there are a few plot holes that are going to be filled in soon, but I am just, how far am I? Just shy of halfway through. And so I'm really anticipating, hopefully, I would love to be done with this by next Tuesday, because I've got 2 more in this series to go. But for now, I'm really enjoying it. This one is already quite a bit better than Death by Pumpkin Spice. Now, this book, Borage. It's so good. I think this is probably going to be my first 5-star book that I ever do for BookTube. I'm really, I got a better word. I am extremely into this book right now. I love the whole concept. It's so off the cuff funny, but also like super serious and dark and moody and witchy. But it's just so hilarious. Like that line about Satan's colostomy bag, it's been like 4 days since I read that part and it's stuck with me. Or it's like crap on a broomstick. Like there's so many things that Astral says that gets me. So to this, up to this point, where did I leave off? She had just finished, I think, her first day at Black & Blacker Finances. And so much has happened since then. So in Astral's coven, the Plague Tree Coven, there has sort of been a switch of power, and Astral's Grandma Lettuce, has died, and someone else has taken over the reins of the coven. Her name is Magdalene Curdle, like C-U-R-D-L-E, like, ugh, I hate the name. Also, what a name to have as a first name, Magdalene. So biblically scandalous. Anyway, she has taken over control of the coven. No one likes her. She has a whole bunch of like cronies and devotees that really just make everyone else's life awful. And so Astral and Dulce and Kiva, who are her 2 friends, are sort of like banding together to support each other because it's not going well. And then Astral is hosting a coven meeting, which happens at the beginning of this book. And Magdalene basically sets her up to go to Black & Blacker, like I said, to figure out what the critter is, who is siphoning the coven's funds from Black & Blacker Finances. However, at that coven meeting, Magdalene snaps Astral's family wand in half. And like, it's the same level of seriosity that snapping a wand in Harry Potter is. Like when they break the Elder Wand, like that's a big deal. And so basically when Magdalene broke Astral's family wand, a whole bunch of errant magic is out in the universe and it's wreaking havoc and it's trying to like find its way back to Astral. So when Astral shows up at Black & Blacker, a whole bunch of weird stuff starts to happen. Like I talked about her desk exploding with confectionaries because she's a baker. So like there are cupcakes coming out of her drawers, of her desk, not her underwear. A whole bunch of weird stuff starts to happen. And when she meets Abby, this spell that the coven had given her to like disguise her from the fact that she was there to like suss out where their money was going. It was like a camouflaging spell. However, it's having some weird effects on Abby Black, her boss, and they may or may not have kissed. And Astral's really trying to figure out why she feels such an attraction to Abby if the camouflaging spell is supposed to like deter her from people. Abby herself, I think, is super into Astral, even though she's the Ice Queen and like doesn't let any emotion show. Something about Astral really like keeps her interested. So where did I leave? Hopefully that makes sense. There's so many details that happen in this book, and I feel bad that I've waited this long to like give an update because there was too much information to try to include. But I also don't want to spoil a whole lot because you really should read this book. But the 2 big things that have happened, like 2 big plot twists that have, 3 maybe, 2.5 that have happened since I last left you. Magdalene Curdle has a bigger hand in what's happening with the coven's money than they originally thought. And it has to do with Black & Blacker Finances. And there's some sort of deal that Magdalene has made with Abby that's detrimental to the coven. I won't say any more than that because I don't want to spoil any details. However, who Abby is has also changed the whole story. Abby is not sort of like the normal Ice Queen CEO. She is actually a being from another dimension. That's all I'll say. And Astral and her friends have discovered her familiar, which is a pretty scary familiar, but he's so cute because he's supposed to be so terrifying, but he's obsessed with baked goods. And so he just shows up at Astral's house. It's like, feed me your baked goods. And of course she does. And now because Astral and her friends have found this thing out about Magdalene and more about who Abby is. Abby is now at Astral's house confronting her about this, and there's a massive storm that's happening. So much drama. Astral's finding Abby really sexy when she's intimidating like this. So much is happening. I really only hold back on the details when it's books that I want people to read and experience for the first time. But when it's like one-offs like this, I pretty much tell you what's gonna happen. Except for like the big plot twists at the end. I don't reveal how things are done. But if it's not really my cup of tea, then I'll let you know what I thought about the whole thing. But books that I really, really love and I want you to read, I'm gonna be pretty skimpy on the details. So anyway, that's my update. I am I think just shy of being 2/3 of the way, maybe actually 2/3 of the way through Borage. It's sort of a weird catch-22 how this book is reading. It's both taking me a long time to get through, but I also feel like the plot is moving so quickly. So I'm really curious to see where the climax lands in this last third and what happens. Also, this is book 1. It says right there on the cover, Plague Tree Coven, book 1. This book came out in... When did it come out? Where's the page? 2019. Oh, I hope that there's another one out by now because I already know that I'm going to want to read a sequel. So my guess is by the end of this book, this is going to be the first 5, like I said, that I review on my BookTube channel, and I'm here for it. This one sounded so interesting. Oh, I also want to clarify something. This is not, as far as I know, when I picked it up, I thought it was a middle grade. This is most likely a YA fantasy, but I would probably even go so far as to say it maybe just be regular fantasy. There's some language in here. I mean, not that YA fantasy doesn't have language, but I did not anticipate this being as adult as it is. Not in terms of like it being lewd or having smut or anything, but just the concept in this I think are older than I anticipated. So, but I'm enjoying it immensely, and I'm glad that it's turned out the way it has. Okay, I'm gonna stop rambling now because I've been talking for 16 minutes. Okay, so like I said with Death by Vanilla Latte, I'm really hoping to finish Borage by Tuesday. I'm gonna film a little bit of my reading tonight and let you know what's happening, any updates, but I think I'm gonna leave it here, this reading vlog here. Tomorrow we'll start a brand new one, brand new week. I hope this week has gone well for you all, and for those of you who are participating in NaNoWriMo, I hope that it's been going well and that you have been crushing all of your goals. This week was harder than I anticipated, so I've been hyping myself up to get back on track and check things off my to-do list. So, I don't know which one to start with first. Borage or Death by Vanilla Latte? I think I'm gonna start with this one first, see how far I can get. I'm hoping to get 5 chapters read. So, let's dig in. Also, this is my favorite Halloween bookmark. I've had this since I was in high school. One of my good friends in high school drew this scared face on it. It's my favorite. Uh-oh. She was at the dinner and it was going well, and then Paul called from the police station. So now she's headed back down there because they found something that's suspicious that has to do with her. You know, in most stories that have to do with like cozy towns, there's always that one town gossip that nobody really likes, but yet everybody keeps going to for information. So Chrissy had a conversation with this town gossip whose name is Rita, who she has issues with because she's so nosy and doesn't know when to shut up and when to stop talking, and nothing is safe with that woman. And she was having a conversation with Rita about how she thought that the fat man seen walking out of Rick's room, his name is Harland, and Rita knew who that was, and even though Chrissy said, that's who I think it is, don't go do anything about it, because Rita is a hothead and does whatever she wants to do, Rita basically confronted him, accused him of being the murderer, and then just barged into his house and tore up his stuff. And she was arrested, obviously, because Harlan called the police, and then Rita basically said, Chrissy put me up to it. So poor Chrissy got dragged down to the police station, and now they're trying to sort out what happened. So she threw her under the bus. Love it when that happens. The literary agent's assistant is in some hot water, getting some tea. Uh-oh. Just found out Cameron, the assistant, is a brony. Ew. Okay. This doctor, so Chrissy's boyfriend right now, who's Will, is a doctor, and he, at the beginning of the book, or at the end of the last book, told her to set up an appointment with one of the female practitioners in his office, whose name is Paige Littman. And Chrissy, because she was exploring the bed and breakfast for the clue that Carrie had given her, the night housekeeper, was late to her appointment by almost a half an hour, which, like, I can understand that's pretty late. But this doctor's being so rude. She's like, my time is valuable, Ms. Hancock. I expect you to be on time for our next visit. You're lucky today. The person after you canceled, so you aren't holding anything up. If one person is late, it sets everyone else back, something I do not approve of. I'm like, okay, calm down. You're one of 4 doctors in a small town. How busy is your schedule? I didn't realize I felt this vehemently. But she's being rude. Like, you don't tell that to your patients, right? Is that... I'm not a doctor, so I'm just genuinely asking the question. So Paige, who I still think is slightly pretentious and rude, basically just told Chrissy that her friend was one of the sort of group of writers who had wanted to give Rick their manuscript from the writers group who hosted the Meet the Author thing, and Rita was the ringleader of them. And basically they accosted him at the bed and breakfast and, like, dropped all of their manuscripts off at his door, and those are the manuscripts that were found underneath Rick's bed after the police had cleared the room. And Paige just said that her friend Amy writes under a pseudonym that is Tony A. Marshall, which is the name that Chrissy didn't recognize amongst all of those manuscripts. So we now have another suspect on the loose. Okay. That was a lot of information in 5 chapters. But I've got just slightly under 100 pages left, so I think with Sunday and Monday I'll be able to finish this one. I'm sorry if you can hear my fan. I'm in like full bedtime mode right now. Anyway, okay. Some new intrigue in Death by Vanilla Latte. However, I am going to end my night reading here because I am very tired. It took everything in me to not let my eyes close. So I'm on chapter 20, on page 202 of 300 pages. So we made some good progress. So that's where I'm going to end this reading vlog. I will see you in a new one next week. But for now, I hope that you all have had a great week, and I will see you later.